Okay, fine. Grizzly Man, the new award-winning film from Werner Herzog, who I think we have covered in some detail. Basically, the story is there's a guy called Timothy Treadwell, that wasn't his real name, who lived among the grizzlies in Alaska for 13 summers, and in the 13th summer was killed by one of the grizzly bears, along, tragically, with his girlfriend. The footage that he shot, the video footage which he shot, was then basically taken on board by Werner Herzog, who saw in Treadwell's story a story of humanity in extremis, in the same way as, if you're a Herzog fan, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, or Fitzcarraldo does, stories about men up against nature. Treadwell basically believed that nature was fundamentally benevolent and that the bears were lovely and cuddly and nice. Herzog comes from a completely different school, and as the director of that culture show piece that I did, you said, it's like Disney getting mugged by Nietzsche, and that's exactly what it's like. But listen to this clip, because in order to understand the film, you have to understand, on the one hand, Treadwell, who was a failed actor, who apparently had come second in line to play the role that Woody Harrelson ended up playing in Cheers, the barman role, and having failed to do that, then went out and lived with these grizzly bears, and Herzog, who is the great Germanic nihilist. And the whole of the voiceover proceeds with that peculiar dialogue.
Do your head in after a while.
Well, no, but it's lovely. On the one hand, you have Treadwell with this, and there are these huge bears, and he calls them like Mr. Chocolate and Fudgy and lovely, funny names. And Herzog is narrating like this, and there are moments in it that are ridiculous. There are moments in it that are laugh out loud funny. There are moments in it that are really, really tragic. One of the things that happens is, it turns out that at the point of the fatal attack, Treadwell had his camera running, although he had the lens cap on, so there's an audio tape of the fatal attack, and Herzog filmed himself listening to this and saying, I'm not going to put this in my film. Now, in the days of reality television, in which people just go further and further down the sewer pipe to put anything in front of an audience, I think it's a very moral and correct decision of Herzog to say there is such a thing as private moments, and this is not going to have a place in my film. What is in his film is a portrait of a man who wants to be a bear, who believes that there is actually no tangible gap between us and them, and who in the end meets a tragic end, but en route goes quietly, and I have to say very entertainingly, bananas in front of the camera amidst some awe-inspiring natural backdrops. So on the one hand, you have this very odd, very quirky, very tragic tale. On the other hand, you have something which really is a profoundly insightful look at the human condition. You have a movie which I think finds Herzog back on top form. You have a documentary that demonstrates that the Nick Broomfield school of look at me documentary filmmaking is not the be-all and end-all. And it's a really exceptional piece of work. It's really something. And it's funny and dark and vibrant and lively and strange and weird and ultimately very tragic and sad. Blue Yonder, new film. It's not that new, actually. It's 2 years old, by Werner Herzog. I love Werner Herzog. Famously, and I am right to say famously with this, the last time I interviewed Werner Herzog, he got shot.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and he was
much consternation and hilarity.
It was just great, and the best thing about it was he was standing on this promontory in Los Angeles.
And you pretended it wasn't you as well.
Yeah, I know. I was standing next to him, and suddenly this thing, and he was saying, "Oh, it's very hard being a filmmaker." He's Germanic. It's very hard being a filmmaker because the community is very hostile. And this thing goes, "Pshum!" And he gets a hole in it, as if someone shot him with an air rifle from across the road. And I go, "Ah!" Someone shot him. I've been shot at in the jungles of Peru. And he says famously, it is not a significant bullet. And he's completely not flustered. And he's literally standing there bleeding into these paisley boxer shorts that he wears under his, I don't know what's more alarming, the bullet wound or the paisley boxer shorts. Anyway, Wild Blue Yonder, story is, he's taken a whole bunch of footage from space shuttle travel, and a whole bunch of footage from undersea travel, and a whole bunch of old footage of man learning to fly, and he's put it all together, reassembled it as a fictional documentary narrated by Brad Dourif. And Brad Dourif, who I love. Most people will know him, I suppose, as Billy Bibbit in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's also in movies like David Lynch's Blue Velvet. He's got a small role in Dune. He is Patient X in Exorcist 3, which is a much underrated movie.
Is he? Really?
And he narrates this. He says, "Hello, I'm from outer space. I landed here with my fellow aliens, and we tried to colonise the Earth. Unfortunately, it didn't work because the colony that we made, we tried to make it as a shopping mall, but nobody came, nobody shopped. Meanwhile, you guys went out into space and went out and discovered my world and made all the same mistakes that I made." And it's found footage recontextualised through the madcap ramblings of Brad Dourif, and it does demonstrate that okay, sometimes Werner Herzog fails, but when he fails wonderfully, and I'm thrilled that there is a director as crazy and as out there as he is, and I thought the film's 77 minutes long, which is a 4-star running time, and for me, it's the film of the week because it's the most adventurous, and